Hey there, Snake Soup. It's me again. I want to answer Vitamin D's question about the Famitsu review of Peace Walker, asking whether a low score would change our mind from wanting to buy it. Now, I think that's more of a general question. It touches on the general question of how much worth to put into a review, because some reviewers give a perfect score to a game that you really doubt is perfect, and, well, who can really say what a perfect game is? It's kind of subjective. And so my general rule is that reviews are for people who are on the fence. And whatever criteria they use to judge a game, if that's the criteria you use to judge a game, then you should listen to it. But I've found very, very few reviews that actually match my criteria of what I'd use to judge a game. And things like originality, very few, you don't see a numbered score there on the list of graphics, sound, and then originality. You see usually completely superficial things that you can kind of objectively measure against older games, and this is the kind of thing you get judged by. Um, so obviously my answer would be that I don't put a lot of stock into the review. I go more by, well, first of all, it's a Metal Gear game, and just by the trailers alone, I've already made up my mind that I want to buy it. But if I was on the fence, I would be reading that with with a couple questions in mind already. And if the review answered those questions clearly, then I would probably trust it that it was pretty accurate. Uh, there's things like, you kind of get, you're reading the review and you kind of get the feeling that it's fluff. That happens a lot. And the question of it being biased altogether because of some sort of conflict of interest, that makes it a little bit more skeptical. So, I mean, all of that basically is just saying take it with a pinch of salt. The thrust of what they're saying is going to be um, more or less accurate. I don't think you could really get away with giving it a perfect review if it wasn't a very good game. Uh, you would get so much backlash. I don't think it would be worth it for them to, take a crappy game and give it a perfect score, a high score maybe, because then that little bit, the margin of error there would allow people to say, well, yeah, there's all these problems, but they didn't count that as being worth very much. So that's why they didn't give it a perfect review, because there are some problems. But once you give something a perfect review, that essentially means, well, to me, that would mean that all the criticism that you could come up with is is offset by its strong points, and that really there's no criticism of the game. It just works perfectly on its own terms. So, no, it wouldn't stop me from wanting the game if it was, let's say, a completely new series that we'd never heard of, we have no attachment to. Then a perfect score with that level of possible conflict of interest and kind of suspiciousness, yeah, then that would raise a lot of questions for me. And I definitely have to read reviews, not previews, and get some word of mouth and everything like that. But in this case, it's Kojima. We've seen trailers, we've seen in-game footage, we've played the demo itself. I mean, we have a good idea of what this game is going to be about, unless there's a huge disappointing twist, or it's just like these people are absolutely lying about how long the campaign is. And I don't think realistically anybody would want to get away with even that level of deceit. So in this case, no, it doesn't change my mind. Even if the review is biased, if they gave it a low score and they were involved, that would almost make it really worse. It would make you wonder why somebody who's got a conflict of interest and should be kissing its ass isn't. I mean, the game must be really bad if they give it a low score then. So yes, then I would definitely have to second guess it, but because I've played the demo and everything, it might still end up the same way. So to answer the question, no, it wouldn't change my mind in this case. If they had given it, no, see, it would. It would give. I would change my mind there. I'll have to say that. If they gave it a low score and I was still thinking that they were in cahoots, then I would take any complaints they had very seriously because those must be some pretty big complaints. But because I do think that there is some bias there and they give it a perfect score, I just kind of take a step back from that and, take it with a pinch of salt and say that it's not going to be perfect, but it's probably going to be really good. So that's my answer. Pretty long, but that's what I think. So there's your answer. Interested to see what other people are going to say. Probably more of the same thing.